Hello, welcome to Harvest at Home. My name is David Speight. I'm the Executive Chef and Culinary Director here at UBC. So each fall, one of my favorite events comes to campus, and that's the Harvest Feastival. Anytime you have an opportunity to gather nearly 1,000 of your closest friends and colleagues and share a wonderful meal, highlighting the great bounty from the UBC farm, combining that with world-class arts and culture entertainment, it truly is a magical event. Unfortunately, this year, we're not going to be doing that. But that does not mean that we can't enjoy a wonderful harvest meal together. So today, I'm going to make a recipe from a past event. It is a roasted pumpkin penne, and we're going to share that recipe with you today with the hopes that you attempt it at home. This dish today is a plant-based dish, and it's also dairy-free, and most importantly, it's super tasty. All right, so when you begin cooking, what you want to do is you want to think about all the things that you need to do, all your prep. So in the culinary world, we call that mise en place. And you always want to think about what's going to take longest and do that first. We're going to start with our pumpkin. You can certainly use pumpkin puree from a can, make sure it's not pumpkin pie filling, but if all possible, always use fresh ingredients. This pumpkin was grown right here on campus at the UBC farm. So we're going to take our pumpkin down, and it's just like at Halloween when you're making the jack-o'-lanterns, but this time we're going to actually eat this beautiful pumpkin. So we're going to cut it right in half and split it open, and then we're going to take it down one more time. Make sure you're careful with your knife, as the pumpkin is a little bit harder to cut, so you want to use a hardier knife. And then what you're going to want to do is we're going to want to scoop out those seeds, and of course, whenever possible, we want to use all of the product. So these seeds are definitely not going to go to waste. We're going to use those in the dish. We can cut it down into more manageable pieces so they're easier to work with. We're going to roast this pumpkin in an oven, so make sure your oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Now, we could roast this whole like this, but what we're going to do is we're going to, once the pumpkin's roasted, we're going to save about 1/3 of the pumpkin, and we're going to keep that, and we're going to toss that in last second right into the fresh pumpkin, and the rest of the pumpkin's going to be roasted for the sauce. We're going to put it in a bowl, add some salt and pepper, and some extra virgin olive oil. And we're going to give that a gentle toss. And then we want to lay it out on a roasting sheet. And then this will go in the oven, and we're going to roast that for about 20 minutes until it's nice and tender. And then we can take it out, and we're going to use half for the puree and some for the pasta itself. So that's the pumpkin. We're going to chop our garlic. So we've got some beautiful peeled garlic here. We're going to use about 4 cloves. And with the garlic, we want to make sure that it's really finely chopped or minced. We want to do that because we don't want any big pieces of garlic in it because it's going to really skew our flavor. So make sure that we're going to cut it really, really fine. So I always go through once like this, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to rock our knife back and forth over and over again until we've got the desired cut. And next, we're going to take a white onion, and we want to have a nice dice on this. It doesn't need to be as fine as the garlic, but it still should be nice and fine. What I like to do is I usually take out the inside of the onion first, and then we're going to make our slices like such. This way, and then along this way, just like so. Nice, beautiful diced onion. All right, next step will be to puree our roasted pumpkin. So we've got our beautiful pumpkin out of the oven. This here is a professional grade RoboCoupe. I don't expect you to have that at home, but certainly at home you could use a food processor or even a blender to do the job. So all we want to do is we want to put the pumpkin in and puree that until it's nice and smooth. And this is what we're looking for right here. Perfect. We'll set that aside until we make our sauce. All right, now it's time to make our sauce. So a little pro tip, you can do all this prep ahead of time, perhaps on the weekend for a weekday meal. Make the sauce, refrigerate it. You could even cook the pasta and refrigerate it. And then all you need to do is put together all your ingredients at the last moment. It's quite a bit easier. So to make our sauce, we're going to start with some extra virgin olive oil. And we're going to sweat out those onions that we diced earlier. So lots of olive oil. Olive oil is wonderful. And we got a little sizzle there. And so all those onions that we diced earlier, we're going to cook those down and get that sizzle going and that sear. And you just want the onions to become tender and more translucent. We're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper at this step as well. And then just stirring somewhat frequently so that the onions move around and they're not burning. All right, so this is about where we want the onions to be. They're taking on a little color. And at this point, we're going to add in our garlic. Add in all that beautiful garlic. And we're going to continue to saute the onions and garlic together. And we're going to probably simmer them for about another 5 minutes over medium heat and help build up those flavors and get that garlic cooking. All right, now that our garlic is nicely sauteed, we're going to add in our tomato sauce. So this is a beautiful house-made tomato sauce that we made. You can use some canned sauce if you need to, but always great to use your own ingredients when possible. And now that we've got our tomato sauce in there, we're going to add in our pureed pumpkin. Now we're going to mix that all together. The pumpkin's still nice and thick. So this sauce is going to be thick at this point, but then when we add the coconut milk, it's going to bring it down to a desired consistency for our pasta sauce. But these flavors are really nice. So this is our coconut milk. So with the coconut milk, we want to use full fat coconut milk, and you can see the consistency. It's nice and a little bit watery, which is going to be great to help thin out our sauce. So we're going to add in that coconut milk. And the coconut milk is it provides amazing flavor without overpowering it. It's not going to feel like a coconut dish per se, but it's going to give that creamy texture of cream that you're looking for, but of course without dairy. So a really nice surprise to make a creamy pasta that is dairy free. So we're going to want to make sure we mix it all together. As you can see, our sauce is definitely more thin now, which is exactly what we're looking for. At this point, it's probably a little bit too thin for our pasta, but that's okay, because what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to simmer this sauce for about 10 minutes, again, to build up flavors. And when we're doing that simmering, the sauce is going to thicken up, and we're going to take it to the exact consistency that we're looking for our pasta dish. All right, our sauce is looking really good. It's reduced down. It's the right consistency that we're looking for. We're just going to add in a pinch of cinnamon for some beautiful cinnamon fall flavor and mix that in. Let that cook down for about 2 minutes, and then our sauce will be done. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to chop our fresh rosemary and fresh sage. And again, rosemary and sage, very strong aromatic herbs. So similar to the garlic, we're going to want to make sure that we take them down quite fine. Again, we don't want a big taste of rosemary in one particular bite. Always prefer using fresh herbs over dried. They just provide better flavor. But if you don't have fresh capabilities, you can certainly substitute with dried. All right, and that looks good for our rosemary. And then our sage, we're going to want to chop that down as well. We have beautiful tomatoes that are going to be used as a nice garnish at the end. And all we're going to want to do is we just want to cut those in half. And those will be ready to go for our pasta dish as well. And then the last piece we're going to want to do is prep our Swiss chard. Beautiful chard from the UBC farm. What we're going to want to do with chard is we're going to want to take that stem all the way out. So you usually cut the rib right up to there and take that piece off. And then once we have that, we're just going to give the chard a little coarse chop. And then we're going to want to put that in fresh right at the very end. If we put it in too soon, it's going to overcook. But we can do the prepping of the chopping right now so that when it's ready to plate, we're ready to go. We also have our pumpkin seeds that we took out of the pumpkin. We tossed them in a little bit of cinnamon and then roasted them in the oven. And so you got a beautiful crispy pumpkin seed. That's going to be a really nice garnish on top as well. Because we're using coconut milk in the sauce, we're going to finish with a little toasted coconut ribbon as well for a little unexpected taste and crunch, which will really add to the dish. So those are already done for us. All right, final step is to put together our pasta. So we got a pan, a nice hot pan, and we've got our pasta sauce that we made. So we're going to pour that in there. Now our pasta sauce is already cooked, finished, nice and hot. So this stage is going to be really quick. So we're using a whole wheat penne today. We always try to use whole grains instead of refined grains, just better nutritional content and quite frankly better flavor as well. So we're going to add our pasta in. We got some beautiful fall colors at play here already. And then when we add in that chard right at the very end, it's going to have that nice pop of green color. For a nice contrast. So we always want to make our dishes taste really good, but also if possible, let's make them look really good too. So we've got our pasta there looking really good. We are going to put in a little bit of fresh rosemary. We'll put some in now and we'll save some for the garnish on top, as well as fresh sage. So nice fresh herbs that we chopped earlier. Go in there, mix that around. By adding chard to this dish, we're adding not only beautiful color and flavor, we're also adding some great vegetables. So that's going to add to the flavor and nutritional content of this dish. We want to mix all that in. And we've got a beautiful roasted pumpkin penne right there. So we're going to plate this up. And what we want to do is we're going to finish that with our toasted pumpkin seeds and our toasted coconut ribbons as well. So we got some nice crunch to add to the top. All right, now we've got our pasta here. It's ready, it's beautiful, ready to go, ready to plate up, put on a platter. Well, today we're gonna put it inside the pumpkin, have some fun with it. What a great surprise that is gonna be when a pumpkin arrives on the table full of roasted pumpkin penne. What an amazing little dish. What we're going to do, we could do a nice size for 6 people there. Add on our toasted pumpkin seeds on top for nice texture, color, and flavor. Coconut flakes as well, right there. A little bit of fresh herbs at the end. And that is our roasted pumpkin penne. Really wonderful, tasty dish, rich, cozy flavors. Really wonderful, tasty dish, rich, cozy flavors for the fall. Really good nutritional content with the fresh vegetables, the whole grain penne. And a celebration of local. So many ingredients here today from the UBC farm, as well as some herbs and tomatoes grown right here on this rooftop garden. So really exciting. Hope you enjoyed today. Hope you try this recipe at home. And we'd love to see what you cook up. Thanks very much.